All right, what's up, boys? Welcome to the first edition of whatever this is, the FFL podcast, the FFL Rewind, whatever. It's our league's little podcast series we're gonna do, and I am here today with none other than Mio, one of the boys in the league, and actually my division rival. So say what's up, Mio.
What's going on? Happy to be here on the inaugural edition of whatever this is.
Yeah,
Gonna talk
whatever it
some
is.
fantasy. Gonna talk some hot takes. Maybe
Yeah.
talk some draft.
Yeah, we
We'll see where
definitely
it
have
goes. We'll see
plenty
where it
of
goes.
hot takes for the league to talk about. But first, I wanted to talk about some of the trades that we regret. This is specifically for me and Mio to start out. So yeah, one of the trades that I deeply, deeply regret has to do with none other than Mio's receiver, and that is T. Higgins, sadly.
I still have Kirk. I still have Kirk too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You do have Kirk still. Yeah. Yeah, so so this trade was from September of 2020. And the only way I can describe it is that I completely tilted in this trade. That's what happened here. So basically, I had Kirk Cousins, okay? And this was 2020, so I'm trying to remember who. I don't even know. Was Justin Jefferson on the team at that point? I don't even remember.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, but I could be wrong about that.
No, wait. I think he was. No, he was because this was Chase's second year, and Jefferson was the year before Chase.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, so basically, we started out that year, and I don't remember. No one else probably remembers this, but I was hurting from this. Kirk Cousins started that year. I want to say I traded him in week 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there. Kirk Cousins started that year abysmally. Like I think he threw like 7 interceptions, had like 1 touchdown, and it was horrendous. And my team was pretty good, and I was trying to push for a championship that year. And yeah, that was one of the worst experiences of my fantasy career, was having Kirk Cousins on my team in 2020. And so I was looking around the league, and I was like, well, Kyle has Matt Ryan. Kyle's been talking about, potentially trying to trade Matt Ryan. And I have T. Higgins. And at this point, T. Higgins didn't get on the field at all. He literally had like no snaps. And I was like, well, T. Higgins is like a project guy. He could end up being something eventually. So I traded Kirk and T. Higgins and a third for Matt Ryan. And then I kid you not, immediately after, Kirk Cousins is completely fine. He goes on to have a normal Kirk Cousins season. He has a couple really huge touchdown weeks. And T. Higgins finally gets some snaps and starts cooking, dude. Like immediately after I traded both of them. So yeah, that's probably one that I think of all the trades I've ever done, this is the one I regret the most by a lot. This is the one that I was like, man, if I would have waited like 2 more weeks, I would have been just fine. None of this would have happened. And now, T. Higgins is on my division rivals team. So what do you think about that trade, Mio?
Uh, I'll say as someone who had Kirk Cousins both in Dynasty and in Redraft, uh, even now, he's just so feast or famine.
Yeah.
I remember because we played each other in the Redraft championship this year, and my first QB was Brady, my second QB was Cousins. And Brady just went nuclear, and I was feeling great.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kirk Cousins played, and he got like 4 points.
Classic.
He got benched in the 4th. It was terrible.
He got benched? I don't remember that.
Oh yeah,
That's
he got
crazy.
benched.
For who? Who do the Vikings even have?
I forget
That's
who their
hilarious.
backup is, but the backup threw like 2 touchdowns.
That's
So
hilarious.
it's one of those things like, I don't know. Well, Kirk really, when you like, T is a very good piece. T's
Yeah,
a very good piece.
T's
I
awesome.
love T. I love T's. Like, looking back at it now, just losing T alone
Yeah.
was worth it. But like, I don't know, Kirk for Matt Ryan. How did Matt Ryan do that year?
I think Matt Ryan in 2020 was pretty good. I'll have to look back and check, but yeah, Matt Ryan.
Because like, I can see like Kirk to Ryan just being a lateral move.
Yeah,
Like
it probably at the end of the year probably looked like a lateral move. Ryan, that was one of Ryan's last good years. He had 4,500 yards, 26 touchdowns. So yeah, he was still cooking, and he played 16 games, so he was pretty good that year.
he was pretty good. I mean, losing T though, like, because did you
Hurt.
draft T? Did you draft
Yes,
T?
so I drafted T in the second round.
So it's a guy you believe in.
Yes,
like
it was a guy that I thought. So here's what happened. Okay, so T Higgins is sitting there. I draft him, and I'm like, you know what? Bengals, they might get better eventually.
Did you have Did we have taxi squads then?
No, there was no taxi squads at that point.
Because I can see like that maybe changing.
Yeah.
How you approach T?
I'm not even
if he
kidding,
doesn't cost roster spot, then
yeah, I'm not even kidding. I think T had like maybe 5 snaps when I traded him, and immediately became a starter like 1 or 2 weeks after I traded him, and he almost had 1,000 yards rookie year. But it just went from no snaps to all the snaps.
That's really impressive because Burrow got hurt that year too, didn't he?
In 2020, maybe. Yeah, that sounds like the right year.
Yeah, because it's his rookie year.
Oh yeah, that was his rookie year. Yeah, yeah, because they were rookies the same year. Yep.
Yeah, he tore his ACL. Oh man.
Yeah, so I got absolutely cooked with the loss of T Higgins. But so my second trade here, so this one's a little more complicated.
Just for the last one.
Yeah.
Like Kirk's gonna be out of the league. In 3 years. Ryan's out of the league, but like T's gonna be here for a decade. Like so it's just gonna keep on stinging and stinging. Like I think that's the worst part. Like if you like losing an old quarterback, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. But it's just gonna keep going. All right, on your next one.
No, you're good. Yeah. So that's probably that by far I think still to this day is the one that haunts me the most. But so this second one, this one's a little bit more complicated. Okay, so this one happened 2021, and I went all in. Okay, because I was trying to reach for that championship, and right as I want to say it was toward the very end, right before the deadline, CMC gets hurt, and I had CMC on my team, and so I was like, you know what? I might just have to move him. At that point, I was like, I don't even know if CMC is ever going to have a good year again, because I think he tore an Achilles or ACL or something.
Yeah, I think even this last year I was fading CMC because I was like,
yeah, I was fading him hard. So I go out and I do a deal with Anderson. Anderson was gearing up for next year. I don't think he was even in the playoffs, and so I trade CMC and a second in 2024 for Mike Evans and Madison. And Alex Madison, he was going to start because I think Dalvin was hurt at the time. And so I go out and get a starting running back for the Vikings, which Madison ended up not even producing really. And Mike Evans was very good down the stretch. And I ended up winning the championship that year. So that ended up working. But going forward, so that's kind of like a redraft type of move where you do that trade to win the championship. I end up winning the championship, so that's why I don't regret it that much. But
like by definition, it's successful.
Yeah, by definition, the plan worked, right? But then I lose CMC, who ends up having a nuclear year after that. And then Mike Evans is pretty much he's tough to trade now because there's no Brady anymore. Madison goes back to being, the role player that he was. Except now, I mean, Dalvin might get cut in this year, but so he might end up being something again. But yeah, so I think
that still have him, or?
No, I don't have Madison anymore. I think Darren has Madison right now. But yeah, so this one I kind of regret a little bit, but also not too bad. I think this trade worked for me at the time, and then past that, it was kind of like, well, I'll take the championship and I'll lose on the future value. But I think I would do that one again. It's just tough to say,
Oh yeah, in the end result, I think you take it every time.
Yeah.
I'm always, this league in particular, I'm always really wary about going all in just because of the way fantasy works.
Right.
Just, do you think like, oh yeah, like that team sucks, and then Jerick McKinnon drops 40 points on you, and you're like,
McKinnon. I think McKinnon's still unsigned right now. By the way.
Yeah, McKinnon's still a free agent.
That's crazy.
You look at a team, and you're like, oh, that team's not going to be a problem in the playoffs. And then Cordell Patterson
Yeah.
at age 32
Yeah.
or whatever he is now just goes nuts.
Yeah,
And
it's always
because
funny.
and so like 8 teams make the playoffs, and I don't want to say it's a crapshoot because I don't think it's a crapshoot, but there's so much luck involved, and
Yes.
I always get scared. Like, okay, if I blow all my future resources to go all in, and then first quarter the guy hurts his knee, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yep.
But it also sort of, I think I've said this before, but I don't think it really makes sense to go all in. Like, this is kind of an all in move, but like, you didn't blow all your first future
Right.
picks.
Yeah. I say that's all in for me, but I think I would never go like fully all in. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you mean, but
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it also never makes sense to tank.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, because you can always be in it. Yeah.
So, like, I appreciate that there's anti-tanking measures.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt like those had to be made at some point, but so anyway, so let's talk about your 2 trades that you regret the most.
This one.
I'll try and pull it up quick.
It's Jared Goff for 2/3 because Lamar Villas hit me up. He's like, "Oh, I need a quarterback," and in retrospect, this was so stupid. But I thought Detroit was going to draft a quarterback
I did
year.
too. Yep.
And so I'm like, all right, got to unload Goff while I can still get something for him. And I traded Jared Goff for 2/3.
Yep.
And
do you know who the 2/3 were, by the way?
or
wait, the 2023 thirds. Yeah. I
think I don't know. I'll have to look it up. I'll look it up quick.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you still have the picks. But yeah, I'm looking at it right now. That was Goff's best season, except for I think the year the Rams went to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, with him.
And like I end up being fine at quarterback. It's just when I look at what I don't know.
Yeah, it would be really nice to have Goff. It's crazy. I feel like they're gonna just ride it out. I feel like they're gonna keep starting him. Like he's probably a top 15, at least from production standpoint, QB in the league right now.
I'm not. You can only really in the NFL project like 1 or 2 years out, and I think he's probably gonna be the quarterback for 1 or 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with Goff, at least with real life, I'm still not like completely sold on him. Maybe this is just me.
Yeah.
Being in denial. Is that he's one of those guys who's good if they get protected.
Yeah.
And that's like 25 quarterbacks.
Right. Yeah, he's very much in that like Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins tier, I feel like.
Yeah.
But in our league though, like
which is a problem. Which is a problem in the playoffs. Well, which is a problem like in real life. But for fantasy, like he's a guy you can start every week.
Yeah. Yeah, and that hurts. Yeah, I really thought that his value was going to tank too, and it didn't, and I was surprised by that. And then so your second one, this one I think arguably hurts even worse.
Oh man, it was Rashad traded to Kansas.
Good old Kansas.
And the worst part is I'm the guy who I made this offer.
You made the offer.
There's one. I made the offer. It wasn't he countered this back to me. I made the offer. But it was Rashad Bateman and Miles Sanders for Cam Akers.
Yeah.
Which Bateman, I still believe in Bateman.
Mm-hmm.
Like, regardless, like he's had a bunch of injuries. Maybe I'm just holding on.
I think he's good too.
But Miles Sanders just had a career year.
Man. What's so funny too, I remember in our Discord chat, me, you, and the boys making all these jokes about how Miles Sanders didn't score any touchdowns last year somehow, despite, like, I think he had I could be wrong, but I think he had like the most amount of touches without a touchdown, like in history or in the last 10 years or like something like that. Yeah.
It was a while.
Yeah.
It was the same thing that Deontay Johnson just had last year.
Yep,
Like
the
that.
Deontay Johnson thing. Yep.
And then Cam Akers, and the worst part of this is I remember watching the opening game. It was the Rams against the Bills. And Cam just does nothing.
Oh, I
And
remember that.
Daryl Henderson gets all the work. And Cam gets like 1 yard of carry, and the Rams get blown out.
Yep. I feel like didn't Miles Sanders score like in the first drive of this year too for the Eagles, I think.
Yeah.
I just remember watching, because I remember everyone like going crazy when Cam Akers was like not even on the field for a lot of the game.
Oh yeah, and then like I remember a Twitter clip going viral that was like basically Cam Akers completely bailing out of pass protection, which probably was his responsibility, but it looked terrible because Donald just just flew past the center and was right in Stafford's face. Instead of going to like help, he just started taking off on a route. It looks so bad.
Yeah, that's terrible.
And I think I didn't really have another startable running back then. And so like every week I'm putting out Cam Akers. Every week he's giving me like 4 points. He's giving me like 4 points.
Yeah, that's rough.
And so I don't know, maybe it'll work out, like maybe in retro, like maybe like we'll look back if because Cam really pulled it together at the end of last year, so maybe maybe this will be one of those trades
Sorry, I feel like there was some kind of like, I don't know, like a phantom injury or something like there. I feel like there had to be some reason why that was happening that like
I know
we didn't
that
know about.
I know that because I remember at one point Cam like left the team.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But I don't know if this is true. I just heard it. But apparently the Rams fired their running back coach, and after that, he was fine.
Yeah, that's so random, dude. Some of that stuff happens, and you're just like, how? Like, what is going on here?
I mean, like with Elijah Moore this last year, that happened too. Like, he just...
Yeah, we're going to talk about him later.
That one, I think that one hurt the most. Like, the Goff one, like, in my brain, I know, like, okay, I lost so much value with that.
Mm-hmm.
But with the Sanders for Akers, it was like every week I see the 4, and I'm an Eagles fan, so I'm watching Miles Sanders go nuts. And so it's like every week I'm getting reminded, you lost like 10 points.
Yeah. Because
you did that.
Oh, man.
And Bateman. Like, who I believe in.
Yeah, that one, that's like twisting the knife in every single week, dude. All right, so let's move into some of these. These are just lopsided trades that we found from just all over the league history, and we'll do a lot more of these, I'm sure, but these are just some of the ones that stuck out the most. This first one is from 2020, and this was Contrite Maple, who was in the league at that point. R.I.P. Bless up. Our boy is gone. He's not literally dead, but he's out of the league. And so this trade here, I'm gonna switch my other screen. So this was Cam Newton in 2020 form, which was Cam's year where he rushed for like 12 touchdowns with the Patriots. This was Cam and a 2022 third round pick in 2020. So this is like 2 years out. Straight up for a 2021 first round pick. And did you say, Luke, you saw that was the 103 that year?
Yeah, that ended up being the 103.
Yeah, I wonder who the 103 was in 2020.
It was Kyle Pitts. I didn't write it down.
Oh, it was Kyle Pitts. Okay.
It ended up being Kyle Pitts because maybe it's on here someplace. Oh yeah. Down in the interesting trade section, because it ends up being part of another trade. Okay,
so this ends up being Cam and the 2022 3 for basically Kyle Pitts, but pre last year happening, which is That's pretty crazy.
Well, I mean, that draft was so, because that's the draft that had Lawrence and Fields
Yeah, that was a stacked
and
draft.
Zach Wilson and Mac and Trey Lance.
Yep. Oh man, Zach Wilson. Yeah, we'll talk about him later too. Yeah. Yeah, so that trade was, obviously pretty lopsided.
And I don't know. Like, I don't know like what his situation was at that time,
Yeah.
but like that's like an all-in move that just goes horribly wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Like,
so. I also, to be charitable to him, I think in 2020, I think a lot of people weren't used to how valuable draft picks could be, or like didn't make their decision on how important they were, because I don't think
yeah,
anyone felt the weight of not having rookies yet. I think that's the difference.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I know down in interesting trades, there's another trade that shows that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll just talk about it now, but Jay Neihart, traded a 2020 second to Darren for Jalen Smith, who
Wait, what?
is, yes, for a linebacker, which is like a different topic. Like, I don't know if we necessarily want to talk about this
Was
now.
that when Jalen Smith was on the Cowboys?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That's why that happened. Yeah.
But like now, it just seems like people don't value defensive players at all.
Yeah.
But that's a different topic. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, for sure. And then so the next lopsided trade that I had here was, I have two of my own that I'm gonna take some time to brag about right now, and that would be, this first one is gonna hurt. This one's for D Money, our reigning champion. This was not a championship moment for him though. So Diggs, yeah, this is the last time Diggs was traded, and he's been on my team ever since. But so I got Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis straight up for Calvin Ridley and then Elijah Moore in a 3. Okay. Now, at this time, I remember it like it was yesterday. Calvin Ridley was still shredding. He was still awesome. This is pre mental health thing with him, and also pre the thing that happened with the gambling stuff. So this is pre all of that happening. And this is also when Elijah Moore, I think, he was getting some snaps, and it was still early on in his career, and everyone thought that he was going to go to the moon and all that kind of stuff too.
I mean, he was doing really well.
Yeah, he was awesome.
I specifically remember the one Monday night game where he I don't want to say he took over the game because the Jets got blown out, but
yeah. No, he was pretty good. Yeah,
he was killing it.
So anyway, so that happens, and then I check my sleeper feed like a week later or whatever it was, and Calvin Ridley is like banned from the NFL like right after this happened, and Elijah Moore is like complaining every single week for the basically the remainder of his Jets contract after that. And Stephon Diggs carried me to a 2021 championship that year. So that was one that ended up, it didn't look lopsided when it happened, but it ended up being, very lopsided.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing with these younger players, is that like even if they're like lighted up for 2 years, like who knows?
Right.
like Juju.
Yeah, the
Juju
stuff is
there's
weird.
a time when like at the height of Juju, I think it'd probably take like 2 firsts to get him now.
Yeah. Well, Juju
and then
at one point was dynasty wide receiver 1 easily.
Like, and that's just wild to think about.
Yeah, he had like, I think he had like 1,510 as like his second year in the league, opposite AB on like the best offense. Like, it was ridiculous.
I mean, you can't really. It's a good example why you can't project more than 2 years out. But,
yeah, no, that's true. And then this.
Are you a Ridley believer? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, going forward, yeah, I think Ridley could absolutely make a comeback. First of all, I like the Jags. I think the Jags are going to be pretty good for the foreseeable future. And if he ends up getting, The thing is, like, I don't know what kind of shape he's in. That's going to be interesting. Like, it's really rare, I think, when someone comes back from like 2 years plus to come back to like where they were.
The
But
only real example that I can think of is Vic.
yeah, yep, that's true. But yeah, I mean, if he gets wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 snaps opposite of, Zay and Christian Kirk and stuff, I think he could be pretty good still. And I think Lawrence has more to learn. I think he's going to get better. So
Yeah, I think with most spots, I'd be out on him, but Jacksonville really makes this makes him an intriguing guy, just because so much is like, where's he at mentally? Because in the NFL, if you're like 90% there, you're gonna look terrible.
yeah, that's true.
I don't know if he's gonna be a guy that I'm like, okay, if you beat me with him, congratulations, or
Yeah, I probably won't be in redraft. I probably won't be looking at him unless he really falls. I think.
yeah.
I'm not like that excited about him, but I do think there's like a greater than 40% chance he does good this year.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that, like, that's where you really get valid. Like the way you win, I'll win. Those high uncertainty guys, you need some of them.
Yeah.
Just because, like, that's where you get value.
Yep. Yeah, because if they do blow up, you're like sitting real pretty.
Also, the third in that trade is that. Do you know who that was?
No, I don't know who that was.
Okay, it's just curiosity.
Yeah, probably ends up being like Davis Mills or something.
Um,
All right, and then this next trade was 2022, and I hate to do it to my boy, but poor Darren is gonna get a taste right now. So this one's pretty gross. I'll be honest.
I remember you coming into, I think we were playing some sort of video game, and you came in and you was like, okay, what do you guys think about this trade? And me and Jays were both like, yeah, smash accept.
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember, but I don't think that I sent this. I think that Darren sent this to me, or there might have been some counters. Darren, you can, if you watch this, you can comment, or you can let me know. I don't remember, but anyway, so this trade was Travis Kelce, which, like, pretty obviously great, and then the round mound over Mondre for Darren Waller, Chase Edmonds, NWI, which of course he was going to make an appearance on this video somehow, Anthony Schwartz, and Chuba Hubbard. And I believe at the time Waller was still healthy. I think that's where this makes more sense. I think Waller was still playing really well and he was healthy. And I think Chase Edmonds was also going to be a starter at this point. So that's where this makes more sense. But obviously later on,
I think we also thought that Ramondre was going to be in the committee.
Yeah, I think that's true too.
And so the Kelsey's like 30 something.
Yeah, so that was the big thing, is like, I think many people, I felt very much in the minority of this, but a lot of people kept saying like, oh, Kelsey's going to drop in the draft, like this, he's going to take a step back. And I just kept watching Kelce and being like, he doesn't look any slower. He looks like the same guy. Like, I don't know. I just was very.
He seems a lot more based on like leverage and technique. People would really give him credit for.
Yeah, and also he plays with Andy Reid. Like, Andy Reid is going to put him in positions to always win.
He also plays with Patrick Mahomes.
yeah. If you're on a team with both those guys, I think most of the time, even if you're losing a little bit of 40 time, I think you're going to be all right. So.
Except for McCole Hardman.
Yeah, I don't understand why McCole Hardman will never be good. I don't get it. I was so in on him when that started.
I think this trade is just a classic example of trading 5 dimes for 2 quarters.
Yeah. Yep.
Pretty much. That makes sense.
Yep.
Like, there's places where that makes sense, but I don't really think Darren is at the time. Like, maybe was he doing his rebuild? Because I remember after one offseason, he's like, I'm doing a complete rebuild.
That does sound like what was happening. Yeah, I think he was looking to, and also there's times. Sorry for hitting the mic. There's times where guys will say stuff like, I'm looking to build depth, not necessarily like I'll trade XYZ person for depth. And I'm like never that guy. I'm like I have a standby rule that pretty much if I'm not getting the best player in the trade, I'm not doing the trade. Even if there's like a huge discrepancy on me giving away bench pieces, depth pieces. Because I always feel like this when you look back at these, that's what happened is like someone got the best player in the trade, all the ancillary pieces ended up dying off eventually, and it didn't end up mattering unless it's draft picks because that
I don't know. Here's the thing is that's kind of what happened with Kirk and T.
That's true.
For Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Like sometimes those like bench pieces go nuclear.
Yeah,
and then...
well, I didn't realize at the time T was the best player in that trade by a lot. And that really hurt. Yeah, my poor heart. But yeah, anyway, so this was the one I did with Darren, and then let's go on to you added one in here for Trevor Lawrence. You want to talk about that one?
Oh yeah, this was Trevor Lawrence and Amon-Ra St. Brown for J.K. Dobbins, Zach Wilson, Mitch Trubisky, Trey Sermon, and Snoop Connor.
Yeah.
I forget how this was the end of a very. I don't remember all the twists and turns, but I remember this trade morphed dramatically over the course of negotiations.
Yeah.
Because I know a Marvelous wanted Dobbins.
Mm.
And he was interested in Trubisky because at the time he had Pickett.
Okay.
And so like Pickett, like Trubisky was there and Dobbins was there, and then also there was a lot of people. I don't know if Marvelous was one of them, but people did not respect Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah,
at the
that's
beginning
true.
Last year.
Yeah.
Because there was a situation like everyone else got hurt, and Amon-Ra St. Brown was getting like 15 targets a game, and there were some questions about like, okay, is like this just because Goff has no one else to throw to, or is this because he's good?
Yeah.
And in my mind, I thought it was a little of both. Like I thought, okay, like obviously, like when Jameson, like whenever like he has other people, he's not going to get 15 targets a game. End up being wrong on that.
Yeah.
But I guess in my mind, if you're getting 15 targets a game, it's because you're getting open.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things that I really, really learned over the last couple of years is that people talk about vacated targets, and I just don't think they're real. I think if you're getting targets, it's because you're getting open, and if you're not getting targets, normally it's because you're not getting open.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like obviously there's exceptions to this, but
right. Yeah, I think I listen to a couple fantasy podcasts, and one of them they always talk about how targets are a skill stat, and that's something that I still struggle with sometimes too, because I'm like, well, this guy's on a terrible offense, and you never really know. But no, I think there's definitely something to that. I was actually one of the guys when Amon-Ra started going crazy. I think it was either 21 or 22. I think it was 21. And I kept saying like, well, that's because so and so is hurt and no one else on the team and all that stuff. And in 2022, he made me a way bigger believer. I was like, okay, I was totally wrong. This guy's really good, and it showed on film that first year too. But I think it was hard to know if it was real or not because of how bad the Lions were and how no one else was there. And I don't know. I was on that side, and then I totally flipped. I was like, okay, no, Amon-Ra's legit. It's very obvious now. So yeah, I switched sides on that. That's why I ended up trading with you for him later. So yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that trade works out. But I forget. Oh yeah, the next day. I think it was either the next day or the night after this trade happened. Zach Wilson had a non-contact injury in the preseason game, and I was sitting there like, okay, is the right thing to do to send this trade back?
Yeah, that's tough. Because
I would feel terrible.
Yeah.
If I trade a guy or I trade for a guy and then the centerpiece, because people still sort of believe, I don't know, there was still Zach Wilson was still an unknown quantity then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yes.
he's the centerpiece of the trade because if he hits, you know, like he's a centerpiece of the team for a decade.
Right.
And I remember that entire night just being like, "Oh man, should I like just
Should I
offer him
undo
everything
this?
back?"
Yeah.
And so I figured, okay, like I'll wait for the MRI scan. Like I'll just like wait to see what happens. And it turned out that it was only like a couple week injury.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that was tough, dude. All right, so let's move on to some of these impactful trades we had on here. So you brought this one up too. This is a throwback. First of all, I just want to say how cool it is that we've had a league for this long. This is from 2019. We're now sitting here in 2023 still talking about the league, and I feel like every year it gets a little bit progressively better and a little bit more competitive, and people are more invested because it's just like cool to see how things have changed over time. And I'm finally it's just really cool to see how this has all happened. But anyway, so this trade is 2019.
Also, just from looking back at all these trades, there were only 4 trades in this league in 2019, and like
that's crazy.
And like now, like I think we've had days with 4 trades.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've definitely had days with 4 trades now.
People are just so much more invested now, which is cool to see.
Yeah, that is cool to see.
But these 2 trades both ended up flipping the championship game, and they both involved elite quarterbacks.
That's crazy. So yeah, so this one was Drew Brees, which I don't even remember what was going on in 2019. You'll have to like refresh my memory, but yes.
I think that was Prime Breeze.
Yeah,
not Prime Breeze, but like one of the last hurrahs.
Yeah,
of Prime Breeze. It was back when he had Peyton and was still rolling. Now let's looking him up now.
Okay, and this is also I don't know if you guys remember this guy, but this is Le'Veon Bell, and he was still shredding back in 2019, I believe. I'll have to look at the stats here. Oh, 2019 was the Jets year. So he took a break in 18 for the contract, and then 2019 was Jets year.
That was a James Conner's breakout.
Yeah, and then he still ended up having 66 catches with the Jets, which isn't bad, but he only had 4 touchdowns, and then everything went severely downhill after that.
I mean, it's the Jets.
Yeah. And then there was also a first-round pick with Bell.
I don't know. It was just so you guys can get some background on this. It is so hard to keep track of all these draft picks. Like we're going back to the league history. It's like this pick. Like okay, like this guy traded for this pick, and you go and you check the draft, and it's on a completely different team, and you're like,
yeah, it's
got traded again.
Yeah. We were trying to hunt down a trade for Dove the other day because Dove had a trade, or Dove didn't know where his draft pick went. He didn't know where his first round pick went. Now it turns out he actually did trade it. We found out later. But yeah, we were trying to look through the league history to see how he lost his 2023 first. Yeah, that was interesting.
Also, can we if we can go back to if we can go back to lopsided trades.
Yeah.
Dove traded for, I think, TDS. He traded for someone's first.
Mm-hmm.
Like in that trade, he got a first for 2023, and I think it ended up being a lottery pick. I'm gonna look this up. He traded. Yeah, he got TDS's first in 2023 in that trade, but he traded TDS's first. That's the 103 this year?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yes, he traded this year's 103 and Devin Bush to Real D Money for Fred Warner and Chase Claypool.
Oh my God! You say for Fred Warner and Chase Claypool?
Which Fred Warner, like, I'm gonna have to look this up. Like how many points a game Fred Warner gets, like that. I sort of think people underestimate how useful. Oh, no. Not seen him. All right. Anyway, both in real life and in our fantasy league, Chase Claypool got way overpaid for.
Yeah, no, for real. That does not surprise me. Yeah, because there was also a couple hype moments for him, like when he went to the Bears. Everyone's like, "Oh, he's finally gonna get his numbers and stuff," and then they realized that they were just gonna run Justin Fields every game, like 20 times a game, and that changed things.
Yeah, it was bad. Anyway, Breeze for Le'Veon Bell in the 21 first, which I don't know if you want to look that up.
Yeah.
I think at the time we didn't really understand how valuable having two of the quarterbacks was.
Yeah, and that's facts. Yeah.
And I want to say that year, I'm going to look this up, but I think TDS had Lamar too. And so it was just like Lamar and Breeze, and they both score 40 points.
Yeah.
And
That's right, because TDS won the championship that year. Yep.
And he won the championship that year. And if you look it up, if he didn't have Breeze and he started his third string guy instead,
yeah,
he doesn't make it.
Right. Yeah, and this is also not prime Le'Veon Bell, and I don't know how to find out how that draft pick worked out for Jason. Maybe Jason could comment and say how it worked out for him. But yeah, I mean losing Breeze is definitely tough, and TDS has a ring, and a lot of us do not. So definitely worked out.
Man,
All right, so next trade here. Next trade here was this one is one of my favorites. This is also a Jason trade. This one,
Jason really fumbled the bag twice.
He really did, yeah. So we got now this one is hard. This one's it's actually not that hard to understand. Basically, so you have Matt Ryan and Julio went to Jason in exchange for Kyler and 2 3s. Okay, now looking at this now, you're like, okay, this clearly worked out, in my favor because Kyler's still 25, even though he's hurt right now. But Matt Ryan and Julio at this time were still pretty good. Like this was I try to do a thing, maybe you guys have noticed, where I try to sell people in their year 27, 28, 29 seasons before they have like the massive fall off. And this is one of those cases where I was like, I think someone will still be interested in Julio and Matt Ryan. Jason traditionally likes veterans. Like he has a lot of veteran guys on his team.
Yeah, there's we're going to talk about that later because that has an origin story.
Okay, yeah. And so anyway, so Kyler ends up helping me win a championship in 2021. His 2021 year was really crazy. So was his 2020 year. He was, QB 10 and QB 3. So this past year, Kyler hurt me a little bit, which was sad, but I had Tua kind of blow up last year, which was great. So, yeah, so that trade ended up working out pretty good.
Yeah, if you look at the 2021 championship game, if you had started Tua instead of Kyler, or like Ryan instead of Kyler, you end up losing that.
That's crazy.
And I think you beat Jason that year.
Oh, yeah, I did beat Jason for the championship that year. That's true, yeah. Yeah, because my only dynasty championship was against Jason because Jason went on a crazy run in the playoffs that year.
So,
yeah, so that's a good one.
Jane Hart, he fumbled the bag and
fumble in the bag, dude.
A ring flipping trade.
Yep.
But it's nice. It must be really nice for you having 3 great quarterbacks.
Yeah, it is. It is very nice. You know what? And they're all pretty young, which I got honestly my whole dynasty run, I think, is due to drafting Josh Allen in the 11th round of the entry draft. Like before anything happened. And what's crazy? I wasn't even a fan of Josh Allen. I was kind of out on him, but he fell pretty far, and I kept being like, well, he runs a lot, so maybe the running will help.
Why
and then
not?
He ends up being fantasy QB 8, 1, 1, and 2. So, yeah, just crazy. So next, we'll try to go through these a little bit faster. We have a lot of stuff to cover still, but
I put this in just because I wanted your help making sense of it.
Yeah.
Just because I think it could go so many different ways.
Mm-hmm. So do you want to intro this trade?
I mean, you can.
Okay. So we got. I'm gonna try and find it. This is a Hawkinson trade with Anderson here. So let me pull it up. This is an interesting one. This is a big one. So we have
one of those trades where you have like 8 moving parts.
Yeah. So here we go. So we have Hawkinson, Danny Dimes, Darius Slayton, Miles Sanders, and a 2 for Waller, Wentz, Divine Ezekbo, who I haven't heard of in a minute, and Darnell Mooney, and a 1. Interesting. Okay, and this was from 2020. Huh. So this is pre real Hawkinson breakout, because Hawkinson sort of broke out in 2020. But
this was when Wentz was still good too.
Yeah, this is when Wentz was he? Who was he starting? Was he starting for the Eagles in 2020?
I'm pretty sure he was. I
think you're right, because Hurts has been starting for 3 years, so that would have been 2021 too. And
no, this is Hurts' second year as a starter.
Okay.
Because he came in with Syria. So 2020, I guess, was the year that Wentz was benched.
Yeah, Wentz might have been in Indy at this point. Maybe, I'm not sure.
We'll find it
anyway. But yeah, this one's really.
Just so you know, the draft picks, the Hawk side, the 2 became Tylan Wallace.
Okay.
And for the Waller side, the 1 became Mac Jones.
Okay, that makes it interesting. So you got Mac, Wentz, Waller, Mooney. For Hawk, Danny Dimes, Miles Sanders. It's tough because I feel like I almost kind of like the side that gave up a 1 in this case, because Hawkinson ended up being arguably better than Waller the last few years. He's at least more consistent and he's on the field. Danny Dimes has been pretty good, in the new regime.
At the time, I definitely would have taken Wentz over Dimes.
Yeah.
But I'm not really for sure. I'm not really a Danny Dimes believer, but like at the time I take Wentz, at the time I take Waller.
Yeah, right.
And at the time I take Mooney.
And Miles Sanders never looked the part until last year either. Like Miles Sanders was always kind of like a RB2, maybe a 3, maybe a flex, because he was not scoring, he was not getting all the work.
So as someone who watches a fair amount of Eagles games, his entire career, sometimes you're like, oh my god, this guy's a Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're like, oh my god, get this guy off the field.
yeah, this guy's an AFL player. yeah, it's crazy. But no, I probably take Anderson's side here, especially knowing the pick was Mac Jones. Now, if the pick would have ended up being someone better than Mac, then that changes things. But
I think the pick right after Mac was Chase.
Oh, really? Jamar? Oh, yeah, he did go pretty late, I think.
I'll have to.
I remember too that a lot of people didn't even believe in Chase in like redraft that year too. Everyone was like, he's a rookie and he's.
That was the year. That was the year he dropped. He was dropping all those passes in training camp.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And that was a whole controversy. And like we look back at it now, and it's like, what are you thinking?
That is really. I do remember everyone being like, Jamar Chase is a bust. Look at him dropping all this stuff in camp. That's true. I remember that. That was crazy. Good times.
But at the same time, like, it's one of those things like, if Mac hits, he's the centerpiece of your roster for a decade.
Yes. Right.
And there's some point where you just sort of have to like, just pull the trigger on it.
Mm-hmm.
But
all right, so we'll kind of go rapid fire through some of these.
Dimes is looking like he'll be the centerpiece of a roster for the next 2 years. But
yeah, I like Danny Dimes, like with Dable specifically. I didn't like him until that, but Dable will change my mind.
It's very painful as an Eagles fan to admit, but the Giants' offense is so fun to watch.
Yeah, it is really fun now.
You watch it, you're like, oh man, this is just. I'm having a good time watching this. All right.
There you go. So this is a classic. This is an all-time classic move from our boy Jay Neihart. Again, just getting toasted and roasted in this video. But so
he has a philosophy and he believes in it.
He does.
And this is where he got that philosophy, because he got toasted with this one.
That is true. So this trade, this was a whole series of stuff from Jason here. Literally, he's all over this thing. But so Jason drafted Derrick Henry 504 in the entry draft, which ended up working out really well. He then trades Derrick Henry for the 2021, and that ends up
number 1 overall.
Yeah, number 1 overall pick.
And I'm pretty sure he knew this at the time.
Yeah, well, he did know. Yeah, he knew it was the 101. And he, of course, did that to trade up to get someone who he literally, I can't think of a running back who had more hype after their draft pick than Clyde. I can't think of one. He went to the Chiefs like right as they were getting ridiculously explosive. And how could that possibly not work out? What universe would that not work out? Clyde Edwards-Helaire, great player in college, playing with Joe Burrow, moving over to Patrick Mahomes, and then Jason
and Andy Reid.
Yeah, and Andy Reid, exactly.
And like the guy who turned Brian Westbrook into a fantasy star. Was he there for Jamal? Like, I think he was with the Chiefs for Jamal Charles, right?
Yep.
Kareem Hunt was a star with him.
Yep.
Like the guy has a track record with his running back.
Yeah, how could it possibly go wrong? And then, of course, this time, it actually did. Clyde's just not that good. And so Jason gets toasted and roasted, and then literally 8 months later, undoes the trade, sort of. He trades for Derrick Henry a 2021 3 and a 2023 1 for Clyde. So Contrite Maple was out of the league at this point. Now it's LaMarvelous. LaMarvelous gets Clyde. He gets a 2021 first round pick from Jason, then a 2023 second round pick. And so then this all goes back. Jason's like, you know what? I need Derrick Henry back. That didn't work. and basically undoes the trade with trading current ones for future ones and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think we didn't really understand at the time that this it's the same problem that the Buffalo running backs have now, where the Chiefs just pass to set up the pass.
Yeah.
Like,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're like, okay, we have the best player in the league. We're gonna put the ball in his hand 45 times a game.
Yeah. And what's funny too is like they didn't used to do that. There was like this all happened kind of after Kareem Hunt, I think, where they learned to do a lot more of like the running through the air thing, where they do a lot of bubble screens and stuff like that instead, and like have McKinnon running out in the flat and throwing it to him instead. And yeah.
He ended up. We'll talk about this later, but he ended up having the first 2 picks in that draft, which, looking back at the 2021 draft, is just, what was it, I guess it'd be 2020 draft.
Yeah.
There was so much. There were so many shenanigans that draft. So many shenanigans.
That sounds like our league. All right, so we'll skip over. We've already roasted Jason enough and talked about his Jalen Smith trade earlier, so we can skip that one. But yeah, he traded for Jalen Smith to Darren for a 2, and then let's talk about this Impervious trade.
Chubb and the 108 and the 201 for Penny, the 102 and the 302.
Yes. Okay. So that ended up being.
This is wild.
Yeah, so
whenever we say the 2020 draft was just bonkers.
Yeah. Yeah, this was definitely part of it. So here, I'll just pull up our sheet here because it's easier to see. So we got. Okay, so Impervious. Did Impervious get Nick Chubb in this?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So he gets Nick Chubb and he gets the 108, and he gets a second rounder. Jason traded up. He got Rashad Penny, and is that the 102, right?
Yeah, that's the 102.
Yep. Okay. So this is what ends up being. So this trade looks kind of nonchalant until you break it down, but basically Impervious got Nick Chubb he got Justin Herbert at 108 that year, which is crazy. Like I do remember because I took Tua at 103 that year. And was that also that was Burrow's year too? So Burrow was
Burrow
was like 105 or something.
It was something like that.
Yeah, and then he got Jalen Reagor, which LOL at 201, and then Jason got Rashad Penny. He got 102, which ended up being CeeDee Lamb. That's why he had the trade up for 102, of course, because you got to get CeeDee, you know. And then 302 ended up being Chase Young, which is very interesting too. So really interesting trade the way that broke out. I don't think did Jason even have Penny last year when he ended up actually like playing well? I don't think so.
No, Rashad Penny actually. I forget who had him, but he ended up getting dropped and I picked him up.
Yeah.
And now
so
maybe he'll be good again.
This trade really did a lot for Impervious. Like this is why he won a lot of games that following years because he ended up with Chubb and then getting a steal of a century at 108, taking Justin Herbert, who's obviously like a top 7 QB now. That's pretty wild.
I remember. I don't know if you remember this. I remember in the run up to that draft, there were a lot of Justin Herbert doubters.
I was one of them. Yep. I was praying to the Lord above that we would not take Herbert over Tua. And that first couple of years after that were tough, man. They were tough for me.
Just he didn't really run, so he didn't really have rushing upside. Which like he's mobile, he just doesn't run.
Yeah.
And so just like he drops and
yeah, a lot of people were completely out on him, including me. I was one of the people that was like I was the type to be like, he looks like a Mitch Trubisky. He looks like the stereotypical prototype guy who looks the part but isn't actually good. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Now maybe this is going too far up, but as a percentage, what are the odds that Will Levis ends up being like this? Do you think?
Man, I think Will Levis is the perfect guy, and we'll talk about him a little bit later too. But Will Levis is the perfect guy that's like right in that category for me, where I'm like, this dude is either a Mitch Trubisky, a Paxton Lynch, or he's like really good. That's yeah, or he's Justin Herbert. Yeah, exactly.
Man,
which is tough, man. That's just those type of guys freak me out.
It's like the Josh Allen problem. Like, there's only one Josh Allen, and there's been 50 guys who look like Josh Allen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Paxton Lynch, everyone thought was gonna be Josh Allen,
and then one of them turned into Josh Allen.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and Josh Allen just could carry your team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if the 108 wasn't such a smash, I think Lamb probably makes this at least a wash, if not slightly Jalen Hurts favored going forward.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I completely agree. I think the fact that Impervious got the better running back, but then also got the more valuable dynasty pick, because Justin Herbert is like undoubtedly, at least from a value standpoint, more valuable than Lamb. Even though Lamb is really great,
You know, like if it's Herbert for Lamb, I don't know if Jason would take this. Like 11 out of the 12 teams would take the Herbert side.
Exactly. And I think Jason did recently trade CeeDee Lamb. You have to refresh my memory.
Yeah, he did. He's traded it to Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we're going to talk about this later, but Anderson's team is so good.
Yeah, Anderson's team got really good. And so did your team. I think I kind of crowned you the unofficial offseason champ so far. But
well,
yeah.
Well, that's very generous of you.
So, okay, let's go through these last couple here as quick as we can. So we got, here, I'll share my screen. We got Saquon and Austin Pooper for a 2021 second-round pick and a 2021 third-round pick. And then the other side of this was, so wait, was Kansas getting Saquon in this trade? Am I reading that right?
Kansas got Saquon.
Okay. And then D-Money got DeAndre Swift, which I still have so many mixed opinions on him. And then he got 2 2021 first-round picks, which ended up being Kyle Pitts and then eventually Rashad Bateman here. Oh, and And here's the Davis Mills pick. We ended up, yeah, because Darren traded for this pick on draft day, this 3rd-round pick from Kansas, and that ended up being Davis Mills, which is actually pretty funny. It's a great 3rd-round pick, believe it or not. But yeah,
I just thought it was an interesting trade.
Yeah, that is an interesting trade. I think what makes it really interesting is that Saquon was still pretty bad until literally last year. Like as far as just being injured all the time. DeAndre Swift is the biggest like mystery box dude I think I've seen in our whole dynasty league. Of like, he could easily be a top 3 running back.
People want DeAndre Swift to happen so badly, and I'm one of them.
I know. Yeah,
it's just not happening.
And what's crazy is like the Lions are good. They pass to the running back. They have like power running sets at the goal line that are actually going to get the running back in there. It just always happens to be Jamal Williams. DeAndre Swift is always limping off the field. And what's crazy is like he's obviously so talented. You watch the film and you're like, this dude is insane.
Like, his yards per touch, I think, are like
yeah, they have to be. And I'll watch games on Sunday.
Like the coaching staff clearly thinks the best way to use this guy is to give him 10 touches a game.
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
I know. Yeah. And I just don't know if it ever changes. And then he gives him the right to whenever he's limping off the field every game. You're like, okay, well, I understand why the coaches feel this way. You know?
Yeah.
It's rough, man.
And then Kyle Pitts, I think you're a Pitts truther.
Yeah, I'm still a Pitts truther. Even I can't publicly say it because everyone will say that I'm retarded, so I can't publicly go out and be a Pitts truther anymore. But yeah,
Pitts might end up being the DeAndre Swift of tight ends.
Yeah, no, that's probably a good comp for him. Yeah,
I like Pitts, and like Pitts is a guy that if I'm wrong with this on Pitts, like I'm just not winning a league because the Pitts winner will.
Yeah.
I just don't really see how. Like someone like Goddard or Andrews is like just gonna get more target. Like,
yeah,
you're just not gonna run the well enough. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, the problem is like,
and like Pitts has to make that up with efficiency, and he's just not that much more efficient than guys who are a tier down.
I think the problem with Pitts going forward is that if they draft the right QB, he could be elite. He could be awesome.
Oh yeah.
If they end up with a obviously Desmond Ridder is probably not it, but if they end up taking getting CJ Stroud or something, and he ends up being awesome.
I'm a what's the term? I'm a bit of a Desmond Ridder truther, but
okay, yeah. I mean, I hope Desmond Ridder is good. I liked him coming out of school, but yeah,
I'll admit the odds are against it.
Yeah, but as long as they're like running out like 40 carries a game between Algier and Cordero Patterson, then Pitt's career is just going to be.
I think the betting markets are saying that they're the one of the big favorites for Bijan.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, that would make it hard for Pitts too, because Bijan's going to demand targets too. Yeah. Okay, and then the last trade to go over here before we have like little fun segments and end here. I'll pull up both of these. I think are some of the most interesting trades to me because they're so simple and there's so much that could go right or wrong here. So me and Jason have talked about it before, but like this Tyreek for AJ Brown trade is probably one of the only examples I can think of where a trade genuinely improved both of our teams. And I'll explain why, okay? Because Tyreek, I think, finished as the wide receiver 2, and I think A.J. Brown was like the wide receiver 5 or something. But as the Jalen Waddle owner, there were a lot of weeks where it was like a Tyreek week, and Jalen Waddle did okay, and then a week where like Waddle would have 2 touchdowns, and Hill had like 5 catches for 40 yards or whatever, which is still good, but it's like, it's not the blow-up week you wanted, right? And, having both of them on my team will only allow me to get the points that Tua creates. It makes it difficult. But when I have A.J. Brown and Waddle, I can have the explosions of A.J. Brown and explosions of Waddle on the same week, which creates more upside for me. And Tyreek is obviously like, a legend, and he's going to go to the Hall of Fame and all that stuff. And A.J. Brown is really good and 4 years younger. So I got a little bit younger there. I don't have to deal with the whole retirement drama now and all that stuff.
Just for the record, and you probably figured this out because I'm in this next trade, but I don't actually think he's going to retire.
I don't think so either. Yeah, if I had to bet, he's not actually retiring that year, but he said it, so whatever. And then the second trade here is obviously basically the same thing, and it'll be exciting to see how it works out. We got Cooper Kupp going to Jay Neihart now in exchange for Tyreek to Mio. So do you want to explain why you did that trade?
Oh, I just I saw a Twitter post. It was like the top 5 wide receivers from like 3 years ago, and it was like DeAndre Hopkins, Odell Beckham, Antonio Brown, and that just sort of like clicked to my mind. Like, okay, Cooper Kupp, he's probably gonna be great next year.
Yeah.
But, like, the cliff is coming, and when the cliff comes, it's gonna happen fast. And whenever you look at the types of players that succeed well into the 30s, it's all little guys. Like, it's all like the small, fast guys, because when your skill set is being big, when your knees go out, you're like, that's it.
Yeah.
But when your skill set is being fast, when you lose a step, at that point you're so good at route running that you can make up for it. Like, and so it's just evener. So like, I think next year I'll probably have less. I expect to lose the trade next year, but I think years 2 and 3 is going to work out better for me.
Yeah.
And, like, I think 3 years out is all you can realistically expect to plan for in a dynasty league. Like, who knows what my roster will look like on opening day?
Yeah.
Week 1, let alone in 3 years.
Right. No, I completely agree. I think it'd be interesting to see.
And the other thing with that is that I specifically wanted to like not put all my eggs in this year's basket because of the Lamar situation. And like, I think Lamar will play this year. I don't know.
Yeah, that'll be fun to see.
And so it was one of those things like, okay, like, if Kupp goes nuclear this year, but I'm throwing out Kirk Cousins, like, I just wanted to sort of spread it out a bit.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And obviously Tyreek is really fun to root for as a Dolphins fan.
As a human, he's fun to root for.
Yeah. All right, so next mini segment here I thought would be fun to talk about, just to roast some people in the league. We're gonna do a little segment called Most Likely To, and this is all just about which owner is most likely to do one of these things, and we'll both give our answers to each of these. So this one's pretty obvious, I think, to anyone watching this. But who is the most likely to trade someone literally today? Who do you think?
Well,
oh my gosh, yeah, I'm not even kidding. I just checked, and then oh my gosh, I was actually gonna say either of them. That's what I would have guessed. So we have an hour ago, which we've been on this call for a little more than an hour. So this happened while we were here. Jay Neihart trading with LaMarvelous, which of course that would have been my answer. LaMarvelous, easy.
I'd say this is too easy. It's LaMarvelous, and so I was trying to think of who would be second.
That is hilarious. I didn't even see this till just now. Did you see this earlier?
I saw that there was a trade, but I didn't check it.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, okay, well, let's talk about it real quick. So we got Josh Jacobs and a 2023 third for 2 first-rounders to Jason. I wonder who Jason wants this year. We'll see if this works, because this is kind of going against the whole veteran proven guy thing.
Oh man.
This we've already talked about this today. We'll see. What are those 2 picks? Can you see what?
I believe it's the 7 and the 11.
7 and 11. Okay. So that could be like Charbonnet or
possible
like
hot take, but I'm not really sold on anyone in this class at the top 5.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that too right now. But it also depends on landing spot though.
I kind of feel like 7 might end up being. I think one of the quarterbacks is going to fall because there's 4 of them, and just like people get their guys.
Yeah.
I think
that is so funny.
The 7 might be a quarterback because he needs a Brady replacement. And the 11.
Oh, interesting. Maybe he
Oh,
goes like C.J. Stroud or something.
I don't think Stroud's going to be there.
Yeah.
7.
That's possible. Maybe he goes for Will Levis.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking Will Levis.
Okay, yeah. I mean, he could, yeah.
And then 11. This is obviously gonna depend on landing spot.
Yeah.
But I know he likes Ty Spears.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, he's awesome. He at least looks awesome on film.
I think everyone likes Ty
Yeah.
Spears.
Yeah,
everyone
he's
seems
gonna
to
go
like
higher
Ty
than
Spears.
people think.
Everyone seems to like Charbonnet. Obviously, everyone likes Bijan.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a small crop of running backs this year, and it's gonna depend on landing spot too, because if one of them goes to like, I don't know, the Bills, like it's gonna be interesting. But
I don't know because like Zeke is still a free agent, Fournette's still a free agent.
mm-hmm.
Dalvin Cook's on the trading block. I think Kareem Hunt's still out there. Like, I think this next year, we're just gonna see committee as far as you can see.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it goes. Because it also feels like the league is sort of, I don't want to say if it's correcting back, but it feels like if you look at the teams that were successful, other than the Chiefs.
Yeah.
It was the teams that can run.
That's true. There has been a big correction back toward like power running, which is very interesting. But I also think that makes sense when you look at every defensive like player, like linebacker and stuff, and they're all undersized now. It makes sense why you would go power run.
So it'll be interesting to see how and obviously with cover 2 becoming like everyone is running cover 2.
Yeah. Like run funnel defenses and stuff, yeah.
So,
all right, so we got trade someone literally today. Most likely, obviously, Lamarvelous.
They literally answered it for us.
Yeah, they answered so it's Jay Neihart and Lamarvelous. There you go. That's your answers. Most likely to never have draft picks, which there's a couple
I would
teams.
have said Jay Neihart, but right now Darren draft day is going to try to trade in.
Yeah, I feel like Darren is always going to have no draft picks until day of the draft, and he's like, "Hey, will you trade me that third for a pencil?" That's pretty much how it's going to go. I think every year. And then there's also one other team I can think of.
Historically, this has been Jay Neihart, but I think people are just starting to realize how bad it feels whenever you're looking at all these rookies and you don't have any.
Yeah, I think it just makes the league more fun. I think there's we have two ends of the spectrum in our league still. We have people who are way too invested in draft picks. They're everybody's going to be the next Tom Brady, the next Michael Vick, the next, Josh Allen, whatever. And then there's the other side of the spectrum where it's I'm never going to draft anybody. I'm only going to go for proven commodities. And then when draft season rolls around, they kind of go back to the middle. And the overhyped people, I think, get their heart broken a little too much. And then they're like, okay, I need some actual proven guys on my team. And so I think everyone's kind of coming slowly back into the middle. The bell curve is slowly shortening. But yeah, it's funny. All right. What about most likely to complain about someone else in the league? I have my answer, but you go first.
Real D Money, and second is me. I don't know if you're listening to this, Real D Money, but whenever you started complaining about TDS not taking Breece Hall with the 101 last year, I was so thrilled that it wasn't just me who was completely furious about that.
That's hilarious.
Because that set me off so hard.
I remember that. And then what's funny is the Garrett Wilson pick ended up looking pretty good anyway. But yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, I think most likely, because everyone texts me all the time because I'm the commissioner, I think the most likely people to complain are I'd say probably Jay Neihart, because he's always posting screenshots of look who sent me a stupid trade again today. And then that happens. And then we have I'd say probably Darren and D Money are probably close seconds with each other because they're always complaining to me about each other. So it's funny. I'm like the middleman in the middle, just taking all the heat and stuff.
I think D Money does in the league chat the most, which I think is that.
Yeah. I think it's respectable to just be like, you know what? I'm just throwing this in the chat. I don't even care.
That'll be my resolution. I'm gonna tell people they're stupid in chat more.
There you go. It's more fun that way. It's just way more fun that way. All right. Most likely to talk about their own rankings of rookies and say that they're obviously better than consensus. Who do you think would do that?
Doesn't D Money have his famous charts?
Yeah, I was gonna say this is pretty much just a D Money diss, pretty much. Yeah, he's very yeah. That's a classic D Money thing to do. Talk about their own rankings a lot. I think LaMarvelous does that to an extent. I definitely do that too. To an extent.
I think we all think that we're smarter than the consensus. Like, there's some guys. Yeah. I'm just out on.
Mm-hmm. I'm like that with a very large receiver right now, Quentin Johnston. So.
Oh, that's not just you.
Yeah, and I can't explain it. All I see is like the next Rashad Perriman for some reason in my head. That's all I can see, and I don't know how to undo it. But yeah, that's just.
I know.
And then other people are like way in on him, like, oh, but look how big he is. He's so big. He's Calvin Johnson. I'm like, I don't know, dude. But
I don't know. I feel like every receiver outside of like Jason and Addison, I'm like that this year. Like, people love Zay Flowers, and I'm like, okay, like, he'll be good, but I really don't think he's gonna be a difference maker.
Yeah, we'll see. I know Omlinator loves Zay Flowers. Hot take.
And of course, like, some of these guys, I'm just gonna be dead wrong on.
Right. Yeah, D Money was famously super out on Justin Jefferson and was happy that the Eagles passed on him. That's a really good one. That's a classic.
I wouldn't say I was happy, but I was like, you know what? I'll trust the front office on this.
Yeah, that's painful. Yeah. All right. Most likely to spit a funny one-liner in the chat and then leave for a month. Who's most likely to do that? I have a good answer.
Okay. Would it be Kansas? Because I feel like there's only so many people who will just not say anything for a month.
Yeah. I think pretty much in my head, it's basically Kansas and Anderson are like the two guys that do this.
Yeah, Anderson's a good one.
Anderson will drop the funniest bar, get like the most likes in the chat, and then dip for like a month. We won't hear a single thing. And it's just Anderson's personality, dude. And Kansas does the same thing. He'll drop a funny one-liner when no one's expecting it, and then I just won't hear from him for like a month, and like, okay. But yeah.
Hey, you set your alarms, you pay your dues.
yeah. As long as you're paying the $15, I don't care, and actually checking your team. But okay, let's do rapid fire round. Okay, who do the Panthers take at number one? Who do you think?
I think they are taking Stroud. I think the Bryce Young stuff is a smokescreen to try to get Houston trade up.
Oh, interesting.
But that's just... It's kind of wild that you would trade up to trade back. But...
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I think the Panthers. I think the Panthers want Bryce Young. I know that's like that's the easy answer. I don't know. Unless they had to have known or thought that they knew who Houston was going to take in order to need to be above them and not trade with Houston directly. Although maybe Houston would want to trade back. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be Bryce. I feel like Bryce screams more number one pick to me. And there's like a lot of I don't know if it's just me or not, but I feel like there's a lot of stink on Ohio State QBs right now. Until Fields really popped off last year, people were thinking Fields and Haskins and like all these guys are not it.
This is Joe Burrow slander.
That's true, Joe Burrow. Yeah, but he got ousted from there somehow. So yeah.
The wild card in all this is that my understanding is that the Panthers owner kind of feels like a meddler. And if he falls in love with a guy, like...
Yeah. What if he falls in love with Richardson, dude? That'd be crazy.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're ever gonna fall in love with like a freak athlete guy, I mean, he's it, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
So okay, so your answer is Stroud for 1. Mine's Bryce Young. Who do you think falls to the Colts at 4?
Richardson.
Richardson. That's kind of what I'm thinking too. I think that's I
This
think right
is-
now it's gonna be Young, Stroud, Cardinals take like Will Anderson Jr. or something, and then the Colts go and grab Richardson.
I think the Colts might trade up for Richardson, but like it's the same basic idea.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? My understanding is that like he looked great at the combine, but in the interviews he wasn't like his football stuff wasn't as high. Like they were like surprised at how far behind he was, which makes me think they're not going to risk the number 1 overall.
Yeah.
That.
I could see that. Yeah. I could also see the Colts going crazy and taking Will Levis. I could actually see the Texans like pulling some crap like that too. I don't know why. I feel like there could be some Will Levis cheese that's gonna like blow up the draft in the first 4 picks. That would be really funny. That'd be crazy.
I feel like this is definitely wish casting as an Eagles fan. I think he's going to drop to 10, then how he's going to trade back. Someone to trade up and take him.
Okay.
But I don't know.
It's tough.
Because the Colts are another team with a wild owner.
Yeah, and I can't unsee it. Like, I mean, who reminds you more of what they've gone for in the past with like Wentz and Matt Ryan and stuff? It's obviously Will Levis.
That was Frank Reich.
Right.
Who's with
Yeah.
Carolina.
Oh my gosh, what if Frank Reich takes Will Levis at 1? Oh my gosh. That would be so funny. The whole draft community would just lose their minds. You see Todd McShay like actually like pass out and like flop on the floor or something.
I don't know.
That would be really funny.
Well,
I could see it.
Maybe they'll take Jalen Carter.
That would be really funny too. They go defense and they traded up to number 1 for a D tackle. All right, last one here for draft stuff. Well, actually, that's not true. But next one, where do you think Bijan's gonna land if you had your landing spot?
No, people are saying Atlanta. Actually, let me look at the draft order quick.
Yeah, I think I have a hot one, but I don't know if Bijan makes it that far. But my take right now is that he might end up in Dallas.
Okay, this is my problem with that. Is that sort of the original sin of Dallas's roster construction over the last however many years was the Zeke contract.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And so it's like, okay, are they really gonna go down that road again? If anyone, they know more than anyone.
Yeah, but also think about it. Like,
of this.
what made them really, really good was having Zeke on a rookie deal and just running him into the ground. Like, I don't know. And it's Jerry Jones too. Like, I could totally. He's a Texas Longhorn guy. Like,
no, he's from Arkansas.
No, I mean like Bijan's plays for Texas. He's probably been watching Bijan for years now. So I don't know. Yeah, I could see that. I could also see. It seems like Joe Mixon's gonna leave the Bengals. Maybe.
Is he gonna make it that far?
Yeah,
they'd have to trade up for him.
Right. Yeah, I think both those teams are in the 20s. So.
Looking at these teams: Tennessee, Houston, Jets, New England, Green Bay, Commanders, Steelers, Detroit, Tampa, Seattle, Chargers. Chargers would be interesting.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like they have That's the thing, is that every team I look at, I'm like, okay, well, that would be really interesting.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of them could work.
They have different needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other thing is like, who's going to get crucified for taking a running back that high? Because you know your whole front office is going to take that one on the chin too.
I mean, I think if you can get, I'd be fine with the Eagles taking him if like we trade back to like the late teens.
Yeah.
And we take Bijan, I think I'd be fine with it, just because we're so dependent on the running game. What happens if you put someone who's good there?
Yeah.
Like,
Eagles and Bijan would be so fun.
Safeties already don't know what to do
True.
whenever they have to cover the running game and Dallas Goedert. What happens when the running back is Bijan?
Yeah. Oh my! Could you imagine trying to stop read option with Bijan and Jalen Hurts? That'd be gross.
It's not read option for us. We do that slide option thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Where it's like the triple option, but like after Jalen keeps, he can like throw it out to like AJ Brown on a slant.
Yeah, that's gross too. All right, let's run through some of our.
I know a lot of people are saying Atlanta because they want to be a running team, and I think that kind of makes sense. But
yeah, I could maybe see it. I think Algiers pretty good. I'd be surprised if unless they just want to run both of them a lot.
I mean, you always need to have a couple running backs. That's just how the league is now.
All right, so let's run through our hot takes here, okay?
I just did some hot take topics and just threw some down.
All right, so first one, is Will Levis too jacked? Or is he? You know what? First of all, yeah.
Yes.
All right, so this is stemming from seeing like a bunch of people complain about him just talking about his physique, right?
At first I thought this was a meme, and then like I think I was listening to Mina Kimes and to like her podcast, and the guy she had on was like, yeah, you know, it's not ideal because whenever you're that jacked, like especially like in the upper body area, it's tight, like your motions are tight, and when you're a quarterback, you need to be loose.
True, gotta be loosey goosey. Yep.
So it's like, okay, if he's that jacked, like he's not gonna be loose. That's gonna like affect like his throwing motion.
Yeah, yeah. And people were like, I remember, I want to say it was on like First Take or something. Someone was complaining that like it's obvious that he's like obsessed with himself and how he looks and not about football. That's what they were saying. Like the argument was like, well, you know, where you put your mind is where you put your passion and like all that kind of stupid stuff. And so. Yeah, so
it's
I've
definitely
seen that.
draft season. It is definitely draft season.
Yes, I love that kind of stupid stuff. It's so funny. And also, like, people, like, unironically being like, this dude's weird. He, like, eats bananas with the peel when they're, like, black. And, like, that kind of stuff is so funny.
He also does mayo in his coffee, right?
Yeah, mayo coffee. Yeah, that thing, too. All that stuff is hilarious.
That's just disgusting. I can't even imagine putting mayo in coffee.
Yeah, that's like what they do in, like, torture, you know?
So yeah, on the great is Will Levis too jacked question, I am a yes. I don't know where you are.
Absolutely yes. Will Levis is undraftable because he's jacked. That's how I feel personally. Not loose enough.
So hope you're not aiming for Will Levis with that 107 gene I heard because we are both in the bust category.
Yeah, he's got a big B on his forehead now after the too jacked comment. But yeah, other hot take is Deuce Vaughn too short. This is of course Deuce Vaughn. If you guys haven't been keeping up with the draft stuff yet, he is 5'5". What is it? 179. That's the last I checked. And
I heard 190.
Okay.
And
he literally is from the exact same school as Darren Sproles, which is really funny. Yeah.
My understanding from like people who have seen him is that like he's like a tree trunk. Like he's like he just can't add any more to his frame.
Yeah.
He's 5'5", 190, and he's never going to be able to be heavier than 190.
Yeah. Yeah. He like it's the comp.
But at Kansas State, they use them as a bell cow. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna give him 20 touches a game.
Yeah, and they did that with Sproles too, and he was there. Now it was a different era of football back then, but like, yeah.
I do know. I'm gonna go with no for this. I think the coaches are going to limit him just because
Yeah.
that they're scared of injury.
Mm-hmm.
But like these short guys, like defenders can't see him behind the offensive line.
I know.
Like they just get lost. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm in on Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll take him.
I like him
If he
too.
falls, I'll take him.
If he goes in round 5 or earlier in the draft, I think I'll be more bullish on him. If he goes like really late, it'll be an uphill battle from there. But yeah, I mean, I think he looks really good. I just there's the obvious
He's so
questions
fun to
of, like,
watch. He's
yeah.
fun to watch. Like he's like one of those guys that you're like watching your rookies, and you're like, oh man,
Yeah, like wouldn't that be awesome? Yeah.
this is a great time.
You replace Jerick McKinnon with Deuce Vaughn in Kansas City, and I'm in. That'd be so fun.
Oh,
Yeah,
I like it.
that'd be so fun. All right, next hot take is Hendon Hooker too old? Now I'll bring this up too. I just saw this tweet. Okay, so here are the oldest QBs drafted in the first round since 1967, based on the age of the QB for their first year, and the only one older than Hendon Hooker, who is 25 right now, was Brandon Weeden. Yes, the first round pick that only the Browns could have drafted was Brandon Weeden, who was turning 29 his rookie year. But there's only one other 25-year-old. It was this dude named Jim Drunkenmiller, who I don't even remember.
I have no idea who that is.
I have no idea either. And then for other 24-year-olds, we have Ryan Tannehill, Chad Pennington, and is it Achilles Smith? I'm not sure how you pronounce that.
Achilles.
Yeah. And then you
For
had
the Bengals, right?
Yeah. And then you had Joey Harrington, who was 23.9. You had Joe Burrow was 23.7. Carson Palmer, Carson Wentz were both 23.7. So Eli was 23.7. So there's been some 24-year-olds. But Hooker is literally the second oldest QB to ever get drafted for this year. So whenever he gets drafted, he's going to be the second oldest ever. Because he's already 25.
Didn't you say he's the same age as Joe Burrow?
I think he's 1 year. He's a year younger than, I think Burrow's 26 now. But he's the same age as Kyler. He's 1 year younger than Lamar Jackson. He's 3 years older than Trey Lance. He's 2 years older than Trevor Lawrence.
Trey Lance is wild.
Yeah, Trey Lance is 22 right now, and he has 2 lost seasons already. That's crazy. I don't know how that's possible.
Oh, he has 3 because he sat out most of the COVID year in college.
That's true. Yeah, basically 3 lost years for Trey Lance. But yeah, I think I'm all right. So if you look at the stats on Hendon Hooker, the stats are crazy at Tennessee. So Hendon Hooker had like 30 touchdowns and like 2 picks last year in a shortened season.
I know they beat Alabama in that shootout. That was really fun to watch.
Yeah, so in 2022 his QB rating was 175. He had 27 touchdowns, 2 picks. The year before he had 31 touchdowns and 3 picks. Now, stats in college are a little bit tough to go off of because there's a lot at play there. But I think he looked the part. He looks awesome. I'm excited to see where he gets drafted. I think he could be this year's like Derek Carr, like the early second rounder who actually makes an impact type guy. I think that might be who he is. So I'm a little bit in on Hendon Hooker, to be honest.
Yeah. I think Hendon Hooker is going to be like a Davis Mills sort of guy. Where like he's like good for a couple of years and he gets a little bit of a fan base, but like he's never gonna take off. I know that at least in like mock drafts, they're saying both his wide receivers might be going in round 1.
Yeah.
Like he's one of like.
Yeah. Who are the 2 Tennessee receivers again?
One was Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah, Jalen Hyatt. I knew that one.
Who's just gonna go. He's bad. He's fast.
He's really
I think it's something Tillman. I forget his name.
Oh, is it Chris Tillman?
Maybe.
I'm thinking of the pitcher, Chris Tillman. Tillman. Cedric Tillman. That's what it is.
Yeah, Cedric Tillman.
Yeah, that's right. He's huge, by the way. He's 6'3", 220.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of big wide receivers in this class.
Mm-hmm.
But they're both They're both looking like first or second round picks.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, like he's old.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yeah,
like
that
he
always
was.
makes me nervous too because every time something like that happens, I always think of Mike Evans and Johnny Manziel. I can't get it out of my head. I
I mean,
just can't do it.
that's the entire case against Stroud
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I know.
It was like, oh yeah, he had Garrett Wilson, he had Marvin Harrison Jr., he had Chris
Yeah,
Olave.
he's got
He
JSN.
had,
Yeah.
so I'm
That's
I'm
true.
kind of
That is fair. I'm
kind
excited
of
to see where he goes.
like I think for a couple years he'll be like a good bottom end starter, like not necessarily a guy who's gonna like take you to the playoffs, but like he's one of the best 32 guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
But I don't think he's gonna be a difference maker at all. Like if a team takes him in the first, I'd be pretty upset if I was their fan base.
Yeah, I think he's probably a second or third round pick, probably.
At that point, you're at least definitely by the third, you're just taking shots.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
are you in or out on Trey Lance?
This year, I'm in on Trey Lance.
Oh,
I know it's spicy, but I think his value's never been lower. I think he's 22, and truthfully, all right, I've seen him working out with Patrick Mahomes lately, and that gives me some some swag. I obviously he's not Patrick Mahomes. I still think his body type and his ability to move and the team he's on, like, I think if we got a full year out of him, it'd be really interesting. But the problem is I think Brock Purdy's probably actually going to start the season.
I don't know, because my understanding with Tommy Johns is that they're like, my understanding with that type of injury is that it actually does decrease your velocity for a fair amount.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's not like because it's such an uncommon injury for quarterbacks, there's not a lot of data.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like, after someone gets hurt, they're weaker. That's just how the human body works. And so I don't know if we'll ever see that level of Brock Purdy again.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And also, like, I think after a year of people seeing him, might have a different way of scheming against him. I'm not sure, because I don't think anyone was planning to play him this past year. Like, they had nothing to go off of.
So, but I definitely see the upside with Trey Lance.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not playing for 3 years.
Yeah.
That scares me off. Like, if someone's gonna take him, and that someone's not gonna be me, and if they beat me with him, God bless.
God bless. Bless up.
God bless. Are you a Jameson Williams truther?
Oh,
Wait,
yeah.
I know the answer to this. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jameson Williams truther last year.
Yeah,
Cut this part out. We don't need to talk about this.
Yeah. No, I'm a firm Jameson believer. I think he's awesome. I think he'll be really good. He just needs a chance, and I think they weren't. I don't think their offense was built for him to come in and contribute last year, because they weren't planning on having him very long. But I think they're gonna scheme him in a lot more this year.
Deshaun Watson.
A hot take. I kind of think Deshaun Watson might be a little gassed. I think he might. I don't know. It's hard, because I felt like for years it was so obvious how good he was, and then last year he just didn't look nearly like the same dude. So I don't know if he ever brings that swag back. Especially, I don't know. It's just been a while.
Yeah. I don't know if this is just a theme with me, but all these guys are like guys who missed a bunch of time, and I just wanted to prove it first.
Yeah. Yeah, because when was Watson last? Like,
I guess it would be 2020.
yeah, 2020 was the last time he really.
Because 2021 he sat out.
Mm-hmm. In 2022 he came back, and
2022 he served the suspension.
Yeah. And then he played in what are these, 6 games? Only one of them was really good. against Pittsburgh, he was like, okay. I don't know. It's tough to see it. I think he's going to either prove it to me, and if I'm wrong on Deshaun Watson, then I'm wrong. But, yeah, I probably won't be drafting him anywhere.
Yeah, I probably won't either. And then finally, do you think Ezekiel Elliott is ever a relevant fantasy player again?
No, that one's pretty easy for me. I think, honestly, the last 2 years, Zeke has looked pretty irrelevant to me on film. Yeah, I don't think running backs typically ever have a renaissance, like a comeback. And his yards per carry has been going down. The only reason he was even relevant before is because he was still getting the work and he was still a huge name and stuff. But he's going to go to some whatever roster and be like their punch-in guy. And
really, I kind of feel like he's going to go back to Dallas just on a really cheap contract.
If he goes back to Dallas on a cheap deal, I don't think he eclipses 200 carries again. And I think if he does, I'll be really surprised. So.
I think he'll be relevant for he's not going to be a full season relevant guy, but for a couple weeks out of the year, he's going to be
that's true. If
he's going to have a little hot streak. He's going to have a little hot streak at some point this year, I think.
Yeah.
And he'll be startable. I don't know for win guys weeks or whatever, but I don't think it's the end, but I think this is his curtain call.
Yeah, I think so too. I think year 27, 28 for running backs is pretty much almost guaranteed sayonara. It's I think Zeke was a great player and he did his thing, but yeah, I think it's kind of over.
All right. Also, one just because I saw this just now. Are you in on Kadarius Toney?
Oh, that's a tough one for me. My answer pretty much entirely depends on what Kansas City does in the draft. I know that's boring, but
yeah, that's fair.
I think if there's a lot of receivers in this draft, if they go out and get Jalen Hyatt or something, I'm going to be a lot less in on Toney. I think Toney's good. I think that he makes a lot of sense in their bubble screen stuff. He might be their new Hardman. He might get all the Hardman touches, which isn't a lot, but yeah. I probably won't be drafting Toney anywhere. I'll probably be pretty out on Toney.
Well, I guess I'm higher on Toney than you are then, because I think just what they were able to do, what Kansas City was able to do, just bringing them in mid-season was impressive, and now they got the whole offseason to just
that's true.
Figure this guy out.
That's true.
So
that's the scheming part of it.
I'm in on Toney. I don't know if you have anyone.
All right. Here's a really, really interesting one that pretty much everyone's gonna have a boring answer to, I think. But where are you on Ramondre right now?
I love Ramondre.
Yeah, I think
I love Ramondre.
Yeah.
I love Ramondre, and crucially, I think Bill loves Ramondre.
That's important. Yeah, if Bill loves Ramondre, then I'm in.
And I think Bill, more than a lot of guys, sort of understands the importance of if this guy's always in, you if this guy can be in 3 downs,
mm-hmm.
then you can do all this hurry up stuff.
Yeah.
I think Bill loves Ramondre, so I'm.
Yeah, he's a really interesting one this year.
I love Ramondre.
And then I guess last one we can do real quick, Drake London. What are you doing with Drake London this year?
I just don't trust Arthur Smith.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. It's sad because I think both him and Pitts are really good. That's what sucks.
We're talking about a guy who, I guess AJ Brown didn't do well, but the moment he left, Arthur Smith, he explodes. Is that a coincidence?
It's instant.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's gonna. I don't think they're gonna get the volume, and they're just not that much better.
Yeah.
To make it up with efficiency.
Yeah, I know. I think Arthur's going to have to go for both of them to have relevancy at the same time. I could see one of them being relevant this year between Pitts and London. I don't know which one. And that's what makes it I feel like both of them are going to go bottom of drafts when their talent is way better than that, but yeah.
I kind of feel like it's going to be a poor man's version of Tyreek and Waddle, where
Yeah. Like a really poor man's version.
Like one week, one goes off, except for goes off is like 75% of what Waddle does.
Yeah, it's like 60 yards at a touchdown. It goes off for them. Yeah, pretty much.
And they're just gonna like switch places every week or every couple weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like Drake London though.
Yeah, I think he's really good.
But,
all right, so let's move on to the closer here. So, what are your hopes for the? Let's do our teams. What are your hopes for the Eagles in the draft first?
Well, I want a Javon Hargrave replacement, and I want a quarterback. If there's a lot of cornerbacks in this draft, but so much on pass rushing DTs, it's like it's a Trayvon Walker, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
And I don't think Trayvon Walker, like, I can see Howie trading up for Trayvon Walker, and I'd be thrilled. But I can also see, like, the Cardinals taking Trayvon Walker at 3.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, yeah, I want a cornerback. I don't know, I just want to, other than guard, I think we're sort of set on offense. And so I kind of just want to, like, fill out all the holes in the defense with them.
Okay.
Because especially since this is going to be...
Yeah, I think...
Hurts just today signed the extension, so...
Yeah, that was huge. That was really cool.
So we're gonna...
Yeah.
We're not going to have as much money to play with.
It's pretty much going to have to be built through the draft for defensive pieces, probably.
And also, in like round 2 or day 2, I want to take an O-lineman. But that's just... I think that's just part of being a good team.
Yeah, building the interiors and stuff, yeah.
Is that like you just take an O-lineman every year?
Pretty much, yeah. My Dolphins takes are I would love if we could get... Because we shored up corner with Jalen Ramsey, which is insane. I still can't believe that happened.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Okay.
I said this. I definitely think the Rams front office was just like, okay, look, you want us a championship. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And he said Miami because the weather is amazing and it's by the beach.
Yep. Yeah. If you're gonna leave LA, I guess go to Miami. Why not? But yeah, I think we're right there. I think if we could just get a little bit of offensive line help, that's probably all I can ask for. And then I think we need to take. I don't know. I think we need to take a tight end at some point.
Really?
Yeah, because we lost Gesicki, and I don't really believe in our backup guys very much.
Is there anyone you're looking for in particular?
I really like the dude out of Georgia. I think his name's like Darnell Washington.
I love him.
Yeah, that guy would be awesome. I would love if we could get him.
Just because he's an elite run blocker.
Yeah.
And like that's
massive.
I want to say that's what you guys need.
Yeah, like a run blocker who can get out in space if he needs to. Yeah.
It's just because I think you guys sort of have the passing game figured out. It's just if you can get a run game going, you're cooking.
Yep. And then I would love to get like a day 2 value running back. I don't even really care who it is. Like I like Tajay Spears a lot. He would be he fits the Mike McDaniel thing too. Like Mike McDaniel's only gonna bring in a guy if he can run a 4.3, like or better. that's pretty much all he cares about. Because he knows they're gonna get hurt. He doesn't care. He just like, all right, go Jeff Wilson, go get hurt. Like Mostert, go get hurt. I don't care. Like
Elijah Mitchell, go get hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I know I said this in chat, but I think A-Chain would be an incredible fit for him. Just because A-Chain, he was splitting... I don't know if you knew this, but apparently in college he was like splitting time between track
yeah.
and football. And so like his body type wasn't... Like he wasn't like specifically designing his body to go be a good football player.
Right,
and he still looked amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, he would be a really good fit for the Dolphins too. So, I honestly, any of those guys that can run fast and would be a value pick, I think that'd be fun. It's hard for me as a Dolphins fan to be like really excited watching Raheem Mostert and like Jeff Wilson because they're just like the great value like 49ers running backs. And I kind of
you want your own guy.
I just want someone new to root for. I guess is like it's just more fun that way because like it's cool that we have the 49ers guys, but whatever.
You don't want the cast off. You want your own guy.
Yeah, I want like H.A. or Spears or someone like that. That'd be fun.
But do you think you're set on defense then, or fairly set?
Yeah, I like our defense. We've been slowly building to be better and better every year. Our linebackers are a little bit great value too. Like we got like Landon Roberts, and he's like okay.
I know you got David Long, and I picked him up because I thought he fit better with Fancino.
Yeah. I think our defensively, I think we're pretty good. I'm waiting for Jalen Phillips to finally have like a big sack season, but he hasn't done it yet. He's been good. Like he always pops on film. So maybe a little bit more edge would be nice, but realistically, I think our defense is top 15.
I mean,
not bad.
I kind of feel like there's 32 teams in the league that would say yes to more edge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's just that's always going to be a thing that we're gonna go for. But yeah, more edge rush is probably the only thing I can ask for, and I think they'll. Yeah, I think honestly, like I think both of our teams are in this like luxury position where all you really need is like a little bit more help at like the crucial spots, but that's kind of it. But yeah, I think if I could have my pick, it'd be a day 2 running back. It would be, is it Darnell Washington? Is that his name? I think so.
Oh yeah.
From Georgia, yeah. So Darnell Washington, I really like him. I would love if we drafted him. And then probably some edge help that's what I want.
All right. What are your hopes for our fantasy draft?
For our fantasy draft, first of all,
you don't have to be specific. You don't have to be specific.
Well, if the Dolphins take a running back, like I said, I'm gonna be trying to get that guy for sure. But even though I know Mike McDaniel's gonna go and slaughter him and give him 140 carries in 4 weeks, and then. Yeah,
106. Zach takes a 7th round running UDFA.
yeah. Whatever Dolphins running back we end up with, I'm going to be probably trying to chase. But no, I think my team doesn't need a quarterback. My team doesn't really need wide receivers. But I'm going to take best player available. That's my strategy for every dynasty draft. But yeah, landing that pick correctly is going to be the hard part. Is like what receiver. Actually, and the other hard thing with me is like I'm always in the top 3 or 4 teams for like win now, and I have to consider that most wide receivers don't seem to be putting up top 24 or top 12 numbers like rookie year. There's obviously you get your like Odells and Jamar Chases and stuff that happen, but I think running backs are more likely to contribute early on than wide receivers are. Like contribute to the point where you can play them every week. You know what I mean? Like even Garrett Wilson, who was really good last year, there were weeks where you were like, I don't know if I can play him with, Mike White or whatever. So, yeah, I think running backs are going to be interesting.
Positional, like how the positions work is really interesting in Dynasty, just because running backs probably have the shortest shelf life of any position.
Yeah.
But they're good right away.
Yeah.
And exactly. Then like tight ends are like the opposite.
Yes.
Well, like they're good till they're 34.
But they don't start being good until they're 27 or whatever.
But they don't start being good until like all the running backs in that class are starting to fall off.
Yeah.
And then like wide receivers.
Like Evan Ingram like lately has become like a top mainstay at tight end now.
And then like wide receivers. They're good. Mm-hmm. But like the difference between like a top 25 wide receiver, like between like the number 25 wide receiver and like the number 14 wide receiver just isn't that much.
Right. It's a toss up on any week. Yeah.
Yeah, and just like the nature of them is that they're just always so boom and bust.
Right. Yeah, if you replace like Derrick Henry with a like a Damian Harris, you feel that for sure. But if you replace Jamar Chase with like Zay Jones, there's actually a pretty good toss-up chance Zay Jones could outscore him like any given week. Like by the end of the year, it won't be like that. But yeah, it's funny how that works. I don't know. It's interesting.
it makes fantasy an interesting game.
Yeah, for sure.
Just because like you have these 4 different types of assets and they all work differently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of, I don't know if this will happen, but I think at some point in the draft, someone's gonna fall in like the second, and I'll be desperately trying to trade up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if people are gonna like be checking like their trade tab at that point. But there's like a couple guys who, like, if they fall, I'm gonna be like, oh man,
Yeah.
oh man.
I have a couple guys on my short list like that too. I can't spill the beans though.
Oh, neither can I. But
Yeah. I'm excited to see who they are for everybody. That'll be fun. And I do like that we increased the timer this year just to give a little bit more trade. I think, I don't know how we're going to do it yet, but I would love it if we could all get on a voice chat for the draft so that if someone wants to trade, we could do it.
12-person conversation.
I know.
I'm just imagining like,
Yeah.
like negotiations happening in the public chat.
Yeah. Or like or if we do it like text chat, but if you wanna trade, you have to hop in a voice chat real quick or something and like negotiate or something. I don't know how we'll do it, but I'm thinking there has to be something fun like that we can do.
I hope a bunch of quarterbacks go early, just because I think quarterbacks going early is fun.
Yeah, I think they will.
And last year in the real draft, we had a bunch of like Hollywood got traded, and obviously AJ Brown got traded.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope we have some more stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that was really fun. Watching AJ Brown get traded during the draft last year was crazy. I couldn't believe what I was reading.
Just because like there were like no like even hints of it.
Yeah, it felt like a Madden trade that when you do it, you're like, okay, this is unrealistic, but like I'm gonna do it anyway. You know, like you know.
I know that apparently Howie didn't even tell anyone else in the front office that it was a possibility. Like, it was like Howie didn't like.
Oh my.
Like, apparently half the draft year when he was like, okay, we're trading for AJ Brown, half the draft year was like, what?
That's crazy.
Like, but apparently it was like Howie. Like, there were only a couple people who knew, and one of them was Jalen, because he was like, okay, please, if we have to sell AJ Brown on this, we're gonna need your help.
Yeah, for sure.
And it worked.
Yeah,
it worked.
It really did.
So.
All right. So what about hopes for this season, just in general?
So I hope to win that league.
Me too.
I want to see the Dolphins do well, just because it's been so long. I want to see Lamar play.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see. This is me being a hater. I want to see the Jets be forced to throw out Zach Wilson. Like I hope so hard.
Oh, bro, the Jets fans would die.
I hope so hard that the Rodgers thing just blows up.
It really feels like it might at this point. It's really confusing.
I don't know, because like the Jets think that they have the advantage and that the Packers can't hold on to the contract.
Mm-hmm.
But the Packers like think that they have the advantage because the Jets can't go in with Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
And so they're just like staring each other down.
Yeah, it's like a world's longest game of chicken right now.
I think this would be bad for the Eagles, but I think if Trey Lance plays and he's like good, I think that 49ers team would be so fun to watch.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I was going to say my top two are, I would just like to see a full healthy Tua season, and I would like to see a full healthy Trey Lance season. I think those two things would be really fun.
I also want to see Bryce Young go someplace with a good O-line that he won't get killed.
Yeah, that'd be nice. The Panthers don't they have a pretty young tackle they took last year? Was it?
Oh yeah, they took a tackle last year.
Was it Kwanu? Was that who I'm thinking of? Ike Kwanu?
Maybe. If Rodgers does have to be there and be good, I want all the AFC's teams to be good, just because that would be. I think it'd be fun to have a division where like everyone's in the playoffs.
That's true. That would be fun.
I also hope that Commanders fans have suffered long enough with Dan Snyder, so I hope he actually sells the team.
Yeah. Weren't they like doing negotiations like a couple of days ago about that?
Yeah, they reached an agreement, but like there's just this bid later. Like
Okay.
they reached an agreement to sell for 6 billion, and then it's like, oh, we just got an offer for 7 billion. So
Huh. Interesting.
we'll have to see where that goes.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the flip side of this is that I very much enjoyed historically the Commanders being terrible.
Yeah.
So that won't be fun.
Yeah, it's been long enough, I think.
I also hope, this is very selfish, I also hope next year's Super Bowl isn't played on an ice rink.
Yeah, that was crazy. I can't believe that happened. Like of all the games to mess up like that. And they were trying to plan it for like years to like have it be really nice, and it was like the total opposite. And what's your hopes for the league this year? Just overall.
I have two. I guess 3 goals. I hope that there's more draft day trading. Has there ever been a draft day trade? Like a
I don't know if we act like in the moment. I don't think so. Yeah.
So I hope for one of those. I also have a personal goal of making at least one trade with every team.
Nice.
I'm really halfway there. We'll see how it goes.
Did we do our trade? Oh yeah, I guess did we?
Yeah, Kamara.
Kamara, that's right. Yep.
And I want to be competitive this year. Like you could probably tell just from the moves I've been making, but I want to compete this year.
Yeah.
I feel like I rebuilt for like 2 years now. If I can't compete now, what am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're right, and I think your team got a lot better. At least as it sits on paper right now. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. No, my hopes for the league are that we just keep the momentum going of like people being active. I think that was the hardest part, was like weeding out people that weren't going to be active, and now I think we've gotten to a point where pretty much the whole league is active. I would like to see. I'm trying to think of ways to incentivize people staying in the chat and like in.
I mean, you don't like whenever Kansas says something hilarious and for a month.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like, I think one that we made the prize cooler, like someone getting a jersey and a ring. I think that helped a lot.
Yeah, that's a good question. As your team stands right now, if you won, whose jersey would you pick?
Oh, whose jersey would I pick right now?
Yeah.
The good news is I already have a Jalen Waddle jersey, so I don't have to worry about that.
I mean, picking someone from your own team is
that's kind of cheese. I normally I pretty much want to pick someone who really led me to that specific championship. So I'd probably get rid of anyone who like got hurt or whatever. It probably wouldn't happen. But if I had to pick right now, assuming everyone lasted and stayed healthy, probably be Travis Kelce. I think Travis Kelce that would just be a really cool jersey to get. He's obviously like a first ballot Hall of Famer legend. So, or I might. Here's the hard part. Okay, I feel like I probably should get a Josh Allen jersey for him being the catalyst to me being so good for so long in the beginning.
You're not going to get a division rival.
Exactly, but I can't get a Bills jersey, dude. I can't wear that outside, So I feel like it's, or actually, I might go AJ Brown because I love AJ Brown. I loved AJ Brown when he first got in the league. So, yeah. So I think right now I lean AJ Brown or Travis Kelce probably.
I'd probably go Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
Just because, I don't know. Every time I see Jonathan Taylor with the ball, I'm like, how come they don't do that 30 times a game?
Yeah, for sure.
So probably him. I know. I don't know who you would have picked last year if you had won. I don't know if you ever mentioned that, but
I probably would have won Kelce last year.
I probably would have either gone McKinnon or and it's gonna surprise people, but Jalen Petre.
Oh, dude, Jalen Petre. He was a rookie last year, right?
Yeah, he was a rookie, and he was incredible.
He was a beast.
And I was like,
yeah, that dude was awesome.
So either McKinnon or Petre. So
that would have been fun,
next year probably either JT or Petre. unless
Yeah.
McKinnon decides to sign.
Mm-hmm. I'm really excited to see how the Lamar Jackson thing works out for you. That'll be fun.
Well, hopefully this Hurts deal. I don't know. It's so hard to read because I think the Lamar thing, first of all, Lamar just messed up the PR stuff so hard.
Yeah, he did.
Because like it was out there for like a year. Oh yeah, he wants a fully guaranteed deal. Then he gets on Twitter like a couple of weeks ago. He's like, I never wanted a fully guaranteed deal. Like
Yeah.
this is why you have an agent so he can leak that to Schefter. Like,
Yeah, right?
but
Yeah.
I'm optimistic, but I'm also
Realistic.
I'm hoping for the best. I'm preparing for the worst.
Right, yeah.
I might have to go into the season with Kirk Cousins.
that would be the ultimate shame here. The ultimate. Oh, man. Or God forbid Marcus Mariota or something.
That would suck just because that means
Jalen Hurts, yeah. All right, dude. Well, this has been real. We had I hope this was an interesting first little podcast episode here.
hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, if you guys enjoyed, you want to do more of these, maybe some of you guys want to hop on and be part of another episode or something, just let me know. But I'm going to post this on our league YouTube. You guys can watch and talk about all the trades and all the crazy stuff that's happened. And, here's to a good year. What is this, 5 or 4?
Yeah, this would be 5.
Year 5 already. Wow, that's
This
crazy.
is the 5th year.
The fifth season. So here we go.
Yeah, because TDS won, then Kansas won, then you won, then Realty Money won.
Then D-Money, yeah. So here's to our next good year of Dynasty. So
all right.